Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
And welcome back, America's Heroes Group, Roundtable. We are globally connected, military family matters, with our partner and family caregiver, Keisha L. Jackson. Today is Saturday, November 6, 2021. Thursday, November 11th is Veterans Day. November is also Military Family Appreciation and Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month. My name is Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our host is Kelley. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And also, don't forget to join us on our Globally Connected live streaming on Facebook. We are on Facebook Live right now. Like and share so others will become connected to information and resources. You can also listen to America's Heroes Group on the iHeartRadio app. Just search America's Heroes Group and watch us on digital TV streaming on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and our partner Zondra's TV Networks. That's Zondra, Zondra's TV Networks. So we have a great show, a great panel. So our partner, Keisha L. Jackson, she's a U.S. Air Force veteran and family caregiver. And we want to talk about a new product that's actually been named a great solution for caregivers. It's the 2021 Caregiver Friendly Product of the Year by Caregiver.com. It's called Peelaways. Now, Keisha, are you with us?
I am, Sean.
So tell us about Peelaways. It's a disposable fitted sheet, but tell us more about this and also what is so amazing about the product.
Sure. But before I do, I just want to take time to say I heard Cliff's voice. I'm not on camera and I'm not available looking at the screen. But Cliff, if you're still there, although you can't see my face, I want you to know that I'm smiling just to hear your voice. It's always so great to hear your voice. And that means just hearing your voice means the world to me. And I also just wanted to say to Cliff and to you, Sean, and to all my fellow veterans that are out there as we approach Veterans Day, happy Veterans Day. I definitely salute you. And just one other thing before talking about Peelaways, November is also National Family Caregivers Month. And during this month, we take time to recognize and honor family caregivers. But I want to say, not just in November, I really appreciate the opportunity and the platform that Cliff and Glenda, America's Heroes Group's Military Family Matters, allows me to raise awareness of military, veterans, caregivers, all of these different issues. Like we'll talk about Peelaways today to help educate the community and increase support for family caregivers. And just before Peelaways, there are over 5.5 million veteran family caregivers, right? About 2 or 3 months ago, I had one on a military family caregiver on the show, and she was talking about her husband who had detonated an IED when he was deployed.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was actually an incredible show. I think it was the June show. And just to hear her caregiver, as a family caregiver, her talk about what she went through, what he went through, the journey that they went through, this month is truly to honor our family, veteran military caregivers as well. So in addition to like the 5.5 million veteran family caregivers, last year, National Alliance for Caregiving and AARP reported that there are over 53 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States alone. And so this month, this show, these topics are always so dear to me. So if you think about 53 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States, that's 1 in 5 adults providing care to a loved one. Of course, that's increasing because of the life expectancy of people that are increasing. It's also increasing because of things like COVID that is causing us to have to provide more care for our loved ones. And so on average, a caregiver can spend about 23.7 hours a week providing care for a loved one. And so that's like 1 in 3 are providing care for someone at least 21 hours or more. And so you see from that, and even there's like 1 in 5 that are providing care for like 41 hours a week, which is really equivalent to an unpaid job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see, caregivers are really, a lot of times we do call them, and myself and all others, unsung heroes, that we don't get a chance to shed the light on them as much. So November is that time, that month where we really set aside as caregivers and those that support caregivers and those that were or are caregivers and even those that may become caregivers to kind of share some information and some resources. And that's what I wanted to do, talking a little bit about Peelaways. Now, a part of why this conversation has is sparked, I was sparked to even talk about Peelaways. You know, President Biden had the Build Back Better initiative, right?
Right.
And a part of that was for the family medical leave. And that was one of the initiatives that was been on the table to be able to get family medical leave in the United States for family members so they could be able to be at home and take care of their loved one, whether it's COVID, diabetes, cancer, lupus, all of these different things. And so while it seems that people in Congress or whatever, they're fighting, they're debating on whether there should be military family leave, I just mentioned that there are over 53 million caregivers that are actively unpaid, for the most part, caring for a family member, or 5.5 million military veteran spouses for the most part, or even children that are caring for their loved ones. And so I say all that to say, Peelaways came to mind because when I connected with Maxwell, I thought about when I was caring for my mom. A lot of times, my bio talks about how I care for my mother. I cared for my mother for about 3.5 years, who had stage 4 inoperable lung cancer that had metastasized into her ribs. And my mother was in Philly, and so I was able to go to Philly to get her and bring her to the D.C. area with me. So while I was caring for my mom, I was also caring for my diabetic dog, who I had to give shots twice a day. I was also helping to care for kind of like buying groceries and different things for another relative. But 6 months after my mother passed, she lived for 3.5 years. 6 months after she passed, one of my brothers fell, and it caused internal bleeding. He was hemorrhaging. He almost flatlined like multiple times. Wow. So after I was caring for my mom, I started driving back and forth to Philly for 6 months to help care for my brother when he was in the hospital. And I was in the military at the time for both of those, and I didn't have any military assistance with either of them. But what I started doing when I was caring for my brother is going to different type of caregiver conferences. And when I would go to these conferences, I start learning about a lot of little resources that are out there and that's available that a lot of people never hear about because you're not a part of those conferences. Because for the most part, when you're caring for someone, you don't really have time to go to a conference. You don't have time for Congress to decide if they're going to give you family medical leave. You don't have time for all of these different things. So when you begin to learn about little products that are out there, products that can help you, it's helpful for others. And so while I was caring for my brother, whether it was there when I was in Philly caring for him, but also at times when I was caring for him down in this area, sometimes my brother would be in the bed and he would just break out in cold sweats, right? Wow. And so I'm trying to do all the other things, between work and take care of him and make appointments or drive around, go to the market, do all of these different things. And sometimes he would break out in sweats, just a cold sweat, and then the sheets would just be soaking wet, right? He would be drenched. I would have to try to get him up, to try to change him, to help him out. And so that's really when I connected with Maxwell and when I saw Peelaways. And I want to say, in terms of like this Peelaways, by no means am I promoting it in terms of anything personally for me. It's because when I saw the product, I thought about, wow, if I would have had something like this simple, that seems to be very simple, but so helpful, it would have been very, very helpful to me. When I was taking care of my brother, it could take me maybe 10 to 15 minutes or even longer to get him up, to get him out of the bed because of the issues that he had. I had to be very fragile with even touching him. So to get him out of the bed was a challenge, to be able to position him, to move him to a place where he was cold, to keep him covered up with a blanket, and then change the bed with the sheets that were soaking wet, and then get him back in the bed. So sometimes what was taking like 15 minutes took 30 minutes, or it took an hour.
Wow.
And so when I saw this Peelaways, I was like, this is something that I really wanted to bring to America's Heroes Group, to the audience, because I do believe that as caregivers learn about different products that are out there to help each other, that it is our job, it's our assignment, it's our responsibility to share those things to be able to help each other out. And so that is just a lot of the background, how I even came to talk about Peelaways.
So what is Peelaway? So give us a description
So,
of what it is.
yeah. So Peelaways, it is a disposable. Really, it is. It's a disposable bed sheet. So what it allows you to do is kind of like, imagine you have this really a disposable bed sheet. It's very soft, and it's multiple layers that it allows you to put it on the bed. And instead of having to like I was saying, get up and change someone, it allows you to just peel back that top layer, and then that's it. So instead of me taking an hour to care for my brother in something alone just by changing the bed, it's something that allows me to do in like about 60 seconds.
Wow. So there's multiple layers you can just peel off. How many layers are there to the Peelaways, you know?
I think there are, I'll look, but I know there's, I'm not sure. I'll get that information for you. But also I wanted to kind of tie in and connect, not just from my personal experience, you know, with COVID and primarily in the health industry, there's a shortage of nurses.
Right.
You can pretty much go to any state and find that there's a shortage of nurses. So if there's a shortage of nurses, that means that a lot of our people that we are trying to get into hospitals, we're not able to get them in, right? Not as quickly as we want. Between hospitals, assisted living, and even hospice. Hospice has had to turn back people away because they're short of staff. And so my thought was, for something like Peelaways, again, is something very, very simple. But if you are trying to get your loved one into a hospital, but you're being turned away, if you may be trying to get your loved one into assisted living, but you're being turned away because they're short staffed, or they're beds, but they don't, because they have beds, but they don't have the staff to fill those rooms, or they don't have the staff at all, that means you're at home now caring for someone. Right? And so when you think about that, think about if you have a person maybe in their 60s married to another person in their 60s. Now, this is whether military veteran or not, in their 70s, in their 80s. And you're trying to help your loved one by even something as simple as changing a sheet. Imagine something like this that can help you if you need to, instead of having to try to wash clothes or wash linen, right? This is something that can help you in that area. I thought about one of my relatives alone. She lives by herself, and she's 94 years old. And I thought about, for her to wash her linen, if she does it, she would have to go downstairs and then to another level of downstairs into her basement. And the thought of my aunt having to take 2 flights of stairs to wash clothes, it just blows. I can't even comprehend. I hate to even think about that. And so, again, with Peelaways, I wanted to just be able to talk about one of multiple products that are out there on the market that could potentially help caregivers that are out there to help ease the burden, the challenge, the stress, the day-to-day chores of what they're doing when they're caring for a loved one.
And Peelaways, so people understand, we're not promoting or trying to sell Peelaways. We're not a sponsor of the show in any type of way whatsoever. However, Peelaways is just a product that, or an invention, I guess you could call it, that actually helps people save time. Because we, as a caregiver, nurses know this as well, and taking care of a family member, a parent possibly, or a person who's disabled. Transporting a person in and out of a bed is one of the most challenging experiences, and can be also very, could be if you don't do it correctly, you can actually hurt the person you're trying to transport. So you always have to be very, very careful when you're transporting someone. And if a person weighs a lot more than you, And if you can't, lift, if it's not easy for you to lift 200 pounds or 240 pounds, imagine having to do that for a loved one, to get them to the bathroom, to get them to, sit up so they can eat, to get them out of bed because you have to change the sheets. Being able to do something like this, just from listening to you talk, I can already kind of see the value of having something that's in the bed that you can just peel away in layers, like an onion, so to speak, and be able to leave the person, I guess it sounds like, in the bed, so you can, clean that person up without having to change the entire bed linen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was thinking about different inventions. Like, I think her name is Anai, like Whitlock or something like that, and I'm sure I'm screwing her name up. But she was the one that years ago, right, invented the rollator. But she invented it because she suffered from polio. And Lily Bourne is an 8-year-old who invented this cup, Parkinson's cup, because she saw her grandfather, who had Parkinson's disease, how he kept knocking his cup over, and it was creating spills that her grandmother needed to clean up. And then there's like Andrew Carl. He is an assistant professor. He invented this like shoe device, a GPS tracking device for families with Alzheimer's patients. So it inserts into the sole of the shoe. And so if your loved one is kind of going off wandering somewhere, it alerts you. And so those are just some, but when I saw Peelaways, it made me think of, again, the same thing. It's another invention that people are inventing. And if you notice, for each of those, and even for this one that Maxwell invented for Peelaways, one of the reasons why he invented it was because he saw the need for his grandmother, how she was struggling to be able to change the linen to help her husband, his grandfather. And so a lot of times, the saying that necessity is the mother of invention. Mm-hmm. And so each of these situations, but in particular because I was talking about Peelaways, is something that happens or something that happens within us as caregivers to be able to invent something, to be able to create something, to be able to design, to develop something, to be able to help each other, even if it's after our experience. And really, that's one of the reasons why I love not just Peelaways, but some of the other resources, inventions, and out there, but ultimately America's Heroes Group that allows me to share, to talk about different things like this.
And it was interesting. I was looking at the website for Peelaways, and I noticed that 97%, I did the math, 97% gave the product 4 or 5 stars, and no one gave it a rating less than 3 stars. It was 108 reviews that was on the website. So 100 out of 108 reviews, 97% gave the product 4 or 5 stars. 88% gave it 5 stars, which is the highest rating. And then you got to think about this, too, is that 10% of all war veterans between ages 55 and 70 suffer from male urinary incontinence. And then 55, men who are younger than 55 who also served in the military are 3 times more likely to have report urinary incontinence. And usually these are linked to either PT, now the colonel's got me saying PT, post-traumatic stress, or also prostate issues. So this research was done by the National Health and Nutritional Examination Survey that was done a few years back. But we have a lot of research on men, not much on women. But the thing of it is that when we talk about caregiving specifically, you hit it on the head that caregivers really do not get the credit or do not get the understanding until you go through it. You have no idea how difficult it is to actually care for someone. It's totally different from raising a child. Totally different from taking care of someone who's an adult who weighs 200 plus pounds that has to rely on you to get them to the bathroom, to bathe them, to feed them, to get them dressed. That's a lot of work. And I can't stress more than enough that working in the field that I work in is as when you're in your 40s and even younger than 40, but when you're in your 40s, you really need to start thinking about what's going to happen to you when you get to be older. Because one day you might be that same person that needs care.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, again, little products like this, it may seem like a little thing in a small conversation, but it's a huge thing that can help you. It can help you from hurting your back, like you said. Just imagine, even, let's just say it's a spouse, right, husband and wife, and let's just say the wife is very petite, and her husband is in the bed, and she's trying to move him to help him, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. The fact that you have something that could be able to help you is just a really, 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 really good thing. So,
And the last before we go, we have about 30 seconds left. Tell us where we can find Peelaway. So is it on Amazon?
yeah.
Where do you go to get it? I know you can go to Peelaways.com, but where else can you find it?
Yeah, it's available in like Walmart or Amazon. There's multiple different places that you can go, and hopefully you try it and it's successful for you. Again, it's no campaign for me. I don't have any stock in it. It's just something that I wanted to share with family caregivers to be able to help them to care for their loved ones, which ultimately helps them to care for themselves.
And thank you for joining us. You're always a pleasure to have on the radio. This is
Well,
America's
thank
Heroes
you.
Group, and we'll be right back.